When people start playing Valorant, most people don't think about what agent they need to play or what role fits their playstyle the most. Typically, they get comfortable with a few agents first and then go on their way to playing competitive. But what people really don't think about until they start really pushing to play against equal competition is whether their agent pool actually fits their preferences as a player. What's going on, ProGuides family? It's your host, Sergeant Frost, and today we're going to talk about the unique playstyles of each agent role and how agents fit into that playstyle. Hopefully this can answer the question of whether your current role fits your goals as a player, and maybe even help you find a role that you want to specialize in. We'll cover controllers, duelists, initiators, and finally the sentinels. Which also leads us to our question of the day. Today's question is, what role did you start off with in Valorant, and what role are you currently specializing in? Or if you don't have one, which one do you want to learn the most? For me personally, I started out playing as a duelist, but then I quickly realized that my lurking capabilities and informational play was much stronger than others. So I naturally started to become more of a controller player. Let us know what you started out with or what role you're looking to play in the comments section down below. Now let's get into the video. Before we talk about the different roles, let's first talk quickly about how you choose your main role and what considerations should be made. When it comes to what agent type you should main, a majority of your input should come from your already existing strengths as a player and your goals in Valorant. For example, you may have the playstyle that fits a duelist really well, but your goal as a player is to learn how to become a more supportive player. In these cases, it's a good idea to consider what role you really want to specialize in, because if you love your role, then you're naturally going to improve more quickly than in a role you dislike. Yet, if your goal is to rank up before deciding, it might be better to stick with a playstyle that fits you best before you make a switch when you become more experienced in game. If you want the best of both worlds, come visit our website ProGuides.com, where our Radiant and Immortal level coaches will help assess your playstyle and your goals in game to tailor a specific game plan for you. Whether it's to reset and improve in a new role, or maximize your effectiveness in your current role, our coaches will make the process of improving efficient, personalized, and easy. We also have amazing courses from pro players like Sentinels 10s and Team Liquid Scream, so if you want to learn from the best, make sure to check us out. The first agent type we will discuss is the controller. Agents in this agent type include Brimstone, Viper, Omen, and Astra. In order to figure out if this agent type is for you, you need to take a second and be hypercritical of your individual playstyle. For example, if you are someone that likes to challenge angles right off the start of rounds, the controller agent type probably isn't for you. Not because you're not good enough to out-aim your opponents, but because your utility is more important for your team's success later in the round. So it's not worth the risk. So what playstyle would you have if you were going to main a controller? Well, first of all, you need to have a good sense of timing. Timing is very important when it comes to playing a controller, as if you put smokes down too early, your team might not have enough time to finish the side execute before they dissipate. On a similar note, if you put the smokes down too late, your team will likely be exposed to more angles than they can cover, putting them at a big risk. Another important playstyle attribute to have when manning a controller is to be very meticulous. If your smoke or Viper wall is off by even a hair, it can cause your team to be exposed to a one-way, or someone can peek over your utility. But at the same time, if you intentionally place those one-ways, maybe you can surprise them by baiting them into peeking those exact angles. When it comes to all of the agents that occupy this agent type, all of their utility represents the large-scale goal of covering for your teammates and information denial. This is the common denominator, so to speak. Brimstone, Omen, and Astra are all similar in the sense that they have smokes to cover areas of the map, which prevents information from enemies. But Omen and Astra smokes are hollow while Brimstone's are not. This is where the meticulous aspect of a controller comes into play. If you don't properly play an Omen or an Astra smoke, you might allow an enemy to sit in that smoke and swing out of it for an easy kill. Viper is a little different. Instead of smokes, she has her toxic screen and poison cloud abilities that she can use to block off enemy lines of sight. This is where the timing aspect of controllers comes into play. Putting your wall up even a second too late or simply not managing its cooldown time effectively could result in your wall coming down at an inopportune time, putting your team and yourself at risk. When considering which role you should play, make sure if you choose a controller, you have an affinity for the information game and a meticulous map control mindset. Next up, we have the explosive duelists. Agents in this type include Phoenix, Jett, Reyna, Raze, and Yoru. Now, I know for those of us that play ranked and have experienced insta-lock duelists that bait their team the entire game, it is extremely frustrating to play with. So let's figure out what playstyle a player needs to actually be an effective duelist. To kick things off, being the most obvious characteristic of a successful duelist, players have to be willing to entry frag into bomb sites and create space for their team. In a sense, this is paired with not particularly caring about dying in the process. The primary goal you should have as a duelist on offense specifically is to get your team onto bomb sites with you at the forefront. If you care about being alive late round and playing in clutch situations, then the duelist role probably is not for you. The next characteristic a duelist main needs to have is the confidence to take aggressive 1v1 or even 1v2 duels. In many cases, with duelists being the agent to entry a bomb site, you need to be able to frequently challenge and kill enemy players. Overall, if you're looking to main a duelist, you need to have the confidence and raw aim potential to supplement your explosive kits. Because duelists are meant to be entry fraggers and frequently take on gunfights, all of their kits reflect that playstyle. This means that these agents need to have kits that allow them to play for themselves over the other agent types that are primarily for support play. If we think about this, abilities like close range flashes, the ability to quickly disengage fights, and the ability to self-heal are very beneficial for these types of agents. For example, if we take a look at an agent like Jet, her ability to throw a smoke and dash into it is a super quick and efficient way to enter into a bomb site. Raze can do a similar entry with her satchels. These two agents have movement in their kits that allow them to hard entry bomb sites. If we take a look at other agents that are in the duelist agent type, we see that they have kits that allow them to play for themselves. Look at Phoenix for example. Unlike an agent like Breach whose flash comes with a long slow animation, Phoenix's flash pulls out fast and can be thrown at a short distance. Reyna and Yoru's flashes are used in a very similar fashion. Overall, since duelist primary roles to take on fights and entry frag, all of their kits are pocket versions of more powerful utility, but gains the benefit of quick deployment and explosive speed. Moving into our next agent type, we have the Initiators. This agent type includes Breach, Skye, Sova, and KO. This agent group holds the true support agents in Valorant, as your ability to help your team using these agents is essential to your success as a team. When trying to decide what role to main in Valorant, if you are considering maining Initiator, you need to ask yourself one key question. Am I a selfless player? If you're going to play an Initiator, your number one priority has to be gathering information for your team and supporting them with your utility, rather than using your utility for yourself like you would on a duelist. Almost all the utility Initiators have is best used to directly support their team. Since support is the primary goal of Initiators, all of the agents in this agent type have utility to do so effectively. But before we dive into the details of these kits, it's important to acknowledge that if you're looking to main an Initiator, you need to be willing to prioritize supporting your teammates over your own safety. The Initiators have some more unique styles of play, so if you're into Initiators, let's figure out which one you like. If we take a look at Sova's utility, we quickly see why he is such a good support agent. With his Owl Drone and Recon Arrow, Sova holds the ability to clear a ton of angles in areas his team is trying to take control of. This trend in utility is commonly found amongst all Initiators. Agents like Skye and Breach, unlike the duelists, have a slower flash takeout speed, but in return, these agents are able to throw their flashes much farther than duelists. And they also pack more power in the flash duration as they are meant to assist their team in taking map control or executing on a bomb site rather than for themselves. KO, on the other hand, has a kit that sits somewhere right between Sova, Breach, and Skye's. He has a flash that he isn't able to throw as far as a typical Initiator, but also holds the ability to gather information on player locations with the suppression knives that he can throw. Overall, almost all the utility that Initiators have is to assist teammates. So if you tend to play around your teammates rather than playing for yourself, an Initiator is the ultimate selfless role. Finally, we have the Sentinels. This agent type includes Cypher, Killjoy, and Sage. Occupying your team's Sentinel role often comes with a lot of responsibility. Regardless of what Sentinel you play, you must be a patient, collected player in order to play this role effectively. In many cases, Sentinels are assigned with holding down bomb sites against opposing executes, as well as providing their team with information on if an enemy is pushed up around the map. As a result of this, Sentinel kits need to allow them to slow down their opponents, as well as gather info in a location that you aren't occupying with a physical player. When we take a look at the different Sentinels, in many aspects, Killjoy and Cypher are very similar. They both have utility that can control a large portion of the map, or give your team information regarding where the enemy team is pushed up. This is the main concept behind this agent type. Controlling a large portion of the map or solo holding a site with your utility so that your team can lean towards the opposite site or have enough time to rotate to help you before the enemies take over the site. Sage follows this trend, but is slightly more kitted on the supportive side while having a better utility set for stalling enemy takes through physical slows. There are a couple key attributes you need to have as a player in order to successfully occupy the Sentinel role. First, as mentioned earlier, you need to be a patient player. Regardless of what Sentinel you are playing, you will most likely be anchoring your site throughout the entire round, meaning you will only rotate once the other team starts planting. Next, you need to be comfortable playing by yourself. Sentinels are generally considered defensive characters, which are often assigned with locking down sites with the rest of their team leaning towards the opposite site. This causes the potential situation of having to lock down your site with a numbers disadvantage if your team does not have information. Overall, playing a Sentinel comes with a lot of offline work as well. Your ability to have multiple setups on each site will be essential to your success on this agent type. Well, that is all we have for how to choose your main role. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to keep up to date with the latest Valorant news, updates, and guides. Also, make sure to check out our website for some amazing on-demand coaching. This has been your host, Sergeant Frost, and I'll see you all in the next video.